My name is Sam. I'm the Partnerships and Communications Manager here at Fairygodboss. And Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Our mission is to improve the workplace by increasing transparency, and we offer a ton of great free resources like anonymous company reviews, job listings, articles, virtual recruiting events, and so much more to help you succeed at every stage of your career. Before we get started, we will be taking questions at the end of today's webinar, and you can ask questions as yourself or anonymously. You'll find that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, so feel free to ask anything that comes to mind. We're also recording today's session, and we will be sending it out in a follow-up email, so if you miss anything or you want to share this with a friend, you'll have the ability to do so. Here with me today is Susan Bernstein. Dr. Susan Bernstein has been a career coach to high-achieving professionals since 2001. She provides expert guidance to mid to senior level professionals to help them boost their career satisfaction and amplify their success. Thanks so much for being here today, Susan. Over to you.
It's really wonderful to be here. Thanks so much, Samantha. And today we're going to be talking about managing anxieties and taking control of your career in an uncertain world. And so for those of you who don't know me, which is most of you, I'm Dr. Susan Bernstein. And I want to help you to weather uncertainty because I've been through a ton of it and I've learned a few things along the way. In fact, I have an MBA from UC Berkeley, go Bears, and I also have a PhD in mind-body psychology. And I wouldn't have got that PhD in mind-body psychology if it weren't for all the uncertainty that I faced in a 5-week period that started in February of 2001. In 5 weeks, my marriage fell apart. 2 days after that, I flew out to Arizona, where my parents were living at the time, to be with my dad by his bedside. He'd fallen and had a very traumatic brain injury that we're very fortunate that he survived. But 2 days after moving out of the house in a divorce situation, I'm dealing with that. And then I had to have 2 surgeries, and then I got laid off from my job. So no house, not such good health, almost lost my dad, no job. All of that in 5 weeks. It was like tons and tons of uncertainty. Where am I going to live? How am I going to take care of myself? What work can I do? And I'm going to share with you some perspectives today to help you through this uncertain period. No, I have not been through a pandemic, but I have helped people through a lot of anxieties of not knowing and that uncertainty. And I welcome your questions today. I'll take them at the end, or if there's really something super urgent, I'm sure that Samantha will interrupt me and let me know that that's a vital question for all of you. I do want to let you know that you can get a copy of today. I made a workbook for today. So if you'd like to work through that, you can sign up for it and go to bit.ly/managing anxieties. It's case sensitive. So be sure that you're using a capital M and a capital A. So bit.ly/managing anxieties. And that's a way for you to take notes. You could actually print a copy, pull up a copy and use it again and again during this period to help yourself feel clear and get answers. And I want to start off in something with us as a group experience. So I have a question for you right now. How anxious are you about your career? On a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being, I'm not at all anxious, I am super calm, to 5, I'm extremely anxious and I'm very concerned. Where are you? So I'd like you to answer this. It's totally anonymous. We won't be able to know how you're doing, but would you please put something in the chat? Would you please answer the poll? And let us know how you are doing in terms of anxiety about your career. And I'll wait. I'm sure that Samantha will give us some guidance on this. So let us know what comes back here. Ooh, okay. I hope you can all see this. It looks like 42% of you are extremely anxious and very concerned. Good, you're in the right place. 51% are a little anxious, 3% balanced, 3% relatively calm, and nobody's here because they're not at all anxious and they're super calm. So we have the right group here, and I'm really glad to have you. Well, let me just share this. My intention today is with this experience to support you to take charge of your career so that you're not at the mercy of your company or the economy, so that you get to feel like you're in charge. So what's on the agenda for today? First, I want to help you to assess how safe your job is. I think that's really crucial. And I'll give you a diagnostic that you can run through. You can either use the workbook to do it, or just grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and you'll just want to write some numbers down, and then you'll tally them up. So you can just write notes for yourself, and I'm a big believer in handwriting those notes. We actually know from research that our brains process much more effectively and efficiently if we use a pen rather than typing. So anyway, if you've got a paper and pen or pencil, I'm going to take you through some questions to help you assess how safe your job is. Then based on that, explore what you can do now to increase your chances of keeping your job. And regardless, wherever you are on that job safety meter, you're going to be able to discover how to reduce your worries and fears and turn them into positive action. So that's what I've got planned for you. And let's start off by assessing how safe your job is. Like, do you have a life preserver? Is there a way to help you to gain that safety? So I've got 10 questions that I'm going to ask you, and all of them are going to be on 3 dimensions of safety in your role. Your industry, how safe is your industry? How safe is your company? And how safe are you within your role? So your industry is like what's going on big picture with the industry that you work in. Like, who would have guessed that connectivity software was going to be way more important? I have a friend who's at Zoom, and they are so busy over at Zoom because who isn't using Zoom right now? And there's other tools, of course, but I happen to be on Zoom. You're connecting with me on Zoom. So that industry is busy. However, I have a family member who works in the entertainment industry. And normally the entertainment industry, when people in economic downturns, and I've been through at least 3 of those. I started my career, when I started my career and I graduated college, it was in a downturn. I also went through the downturn of 2001, and that's why I lost my job in the dot-com era. And then of course the 2008 downturn. So I've been through some of this. Well, what we find usually in is that the entertainment industry, despite people not having as much money, they're like, oh, I really want to go see my favorite artist in concert. That will make me feel great. Well, we can't do that now. So the entertainment industry, totally surprisingly, they wouldn't have seen it coming. You know, people don't generally like, oh, let's plan super big for a pandemic. You know, they're having a downturn. How about your company? Is your company set up for dealing with what's going on? You know, I get to talk to a lot of people, and I hear some companies, no problem working at home. They've allowed people to work at home before. They have guidelines and policies and technology to do it. And I have others that don't, including right here in San Diego. One of the organizations I work with is the city of San Diego. They usually have people in city municipal offices. So when this all hit, it was totally new to them to have people working from home and then also working with really sensitive data. So some companies or organizations, and I'll use the word company broadly, some of you may work for nonprofits or civic organizations, but some companies are set up better than others for handling what's going on right now. And then there's you within your role. And that really has to do with your relationships and the quality of those relationships. So you always want to be thinking in this economy about all 3 of those. How's your industry doing? How's your company doing within the industry? And how are you doing within that role within your company? Kind of like a nest of things. So I've got 10 questions for you. You're going to answer all of them on the same scale. And I'll do my best to explain the question, but let's just jump right in. So you're going to assess from strongly disagree as a 1 to 5, strongly agree. My industry offers a product or service whose demand will stay the same or increase. So again, if you're Zoom, your industry, connectivity, right, that kind of thing is in high demand. We've seen it, I mean, we all know toilet paper. Oh my goodness, toilet paper. So if you make paper products, if you make Sanitary products, right? So wipes and things like that. Yeah, your demand is going to go up. But other industries, like if you were in, this morning I was putting on makeup and I thought, wow, I can't just go to the Sephora counter right now. One of the places I like to get makeup. And for sure, I can't go have, at least in California, I don't know how it is in other states. I can't have a makeup artist, show me how to use the latest tools. So, I don't know what's going to happen about makeup, but it's rather humorous that more and more people are getting nice tops, but they're bottoms. They're not spending money on jeans and all those kinds of things as much. Now that will probably change as we go back to the office and see a spike in that demand. But that's my question for you. Does your industry offer a product or service whose demand will stay the same or increase? Where are you in this scale? So you can just write down a number like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 anyway, and you'll do this for all 10 of these questions. My next question, my company offers a product or service whose demand will stay the same or increase over the next 3 to 6 months. You really only need to know about that amount of time. I mean, sure, if you happen to have a window into a further, a longer stretch of time, that's great. But is your company offering a product or service who you think will stay the same? If you don't know, this is a great thing to be talking to your management about. Like, hey, how is our demand for our products or our services? Is that likely to increase or decrease over the next 6 months? Third, my organization or company has cash reserves or the financing to keep us afloat for the next 3 to 6 months. If your company is bleeding money, that's going to be a problem. It makes it much, much harder to pay salaries. So think about the health of your organization, your company, in terms of, do they have cash? If they're publicly held, you can actually go read their financial reports. If they're not, that's something you could ask about or get a good bead on. I'm like, are we spending money? Before this, were we spending money a lot? Were we not? Were we going wild with spending and maybe we overspent ourselves? So this is maybe a harder question if you're not close to this, but take a good guess. Fourth, the work I am doing is strongly connected to my organization's strategic mission. Is your function something that makes your business hum? Or are you more on the periphery? Are you critical, mission critical? Are you more tactical, somewhere further back? The more you're connected to the strategic mission, the more likely it is that your role will be safe. And the farther you are away from that, the less likely it is that your job is safe, because in these kinds of times, companies look to who's essential in terms of that role being critical to keeping the business humming. So I worked a lot in training and development roles, and crazy as it is, companies often let those roles go first. Even though it's important to train people, it's not that that isn't important, but is it the thing, like, do we need our salespeople more than we need our training people? And if the company has to prioritize, they may let one go over the other. Fifth, the people in my organization know me well for my talents. Are you visible? If you're invisible, it's harder to stay on somebody's radar screen, the people who have to make the decision to keep you or let you go. And so it's important that you're well known. So if you were like, yeah, everybody knows me, they know me by name, I'm well regarded, or no, I've kind of just been off of my own thing, where that continuum. So would you strongly disagree or strongly agree that the people in your organization know you well for your talents? Sixth, in order for my organization to function optimally, and I'm looking at your specific organization, not the whole company. I looked at the whole company with you first. When we look in your department or your area, your function inside your company, are your talents essential? Like, they couldn't live without you. Like, is it hard for you? Has it been in the past hard for you to take a vacation because your expertise, your knowledge, your ability to connect people and get everybody working well together, that's essential. So where do you fall on this continuum from strongly agree to strongly disagree? Seventh, I have an excellent rapport with my manager. Are things going well with your manager? That person thinks really well of you. They evaluate you well. Things have been, easy peasy, or like, I disagree, we butt heads, we don't get along. Where are you on this scale? So give yourself a number, a ranking there. 8, my manager's manager knows me and appreciates the quality of my work. So unless you're the CEO and there is no manager's manager except, let's say, maybe the board, your boss probably has a boss. So are you visible enough that that person knows you? Because look, frankly, when decisions get made, if a company has to make a decision to furlough or lay off or decrease salaries for people, you want to be somebody that your manager's manager knows. So where are you on this? Not only do they know you, they appreciate the quality of your work. So see where you fit on this continuum. 9th, I am known for fostering harmonious relationships at work. Like, are you the go-to person? Are you the person that people look forward to seeing? Or you're the person who like, I kind of stayed in the corner and nobody really knows me, or I'm known as combative. I mean, look, we try not to be that. But if you've had trouble in your relationships at work, that's a danger signal. I mean, let's be straight about it. Nobody wants to work with somebody who's difficult to work with. So if you've been having troubles here, that's an area for working on. So hopefully you are somebody who's known for fostering harmonious relationships at work. That will boost your likelihood of keeping your job. But if you're not, it's an area for working on. So be honest with yourself, and where do you fall on this continuum? Finally, one last question. I'm known outside my company or organization for my talents or thought leadership. Super important. So look, when I'm working with my one-on-one coaching clients who tend to be mid to senior level executives, I'm constantly telling them it is so important that you not have blinders on and only think about what's going on in your company. You want to think more broadly. We are all the CEOs of our own careers, and you want to be thinking about, am I known outside? Because even before this pandemic, it was crucial that you have some way of connecting with other people, because we don't know what could happen to a company. You know, I was working for a .com, and we had $1 million a month burn rate. You have $1 million a month, you know, you can get a lot done, but we were just burning through it, and poof, we closed. You know, that I'm not saying that that will necessarily happen to your company, but when you want to have more control, more ability in your own career, you want to have branches out into other people. So are you, going to industry meetings or functional meetings? Do you take trainings other places? And also, are you sharing? Like, LinkedIn is a phenomenal place to share. And I'll invite all of you to go to my LinkedIn profile. Look me up at drsusanbernstein.com. And I'll share my LinkedIn URL at the end here, but you can just look for drsusanbernstein.com. I share my thought leadership all the time. Now, look, that is a way that I also help people to know that they're a fit for working with me. But I watch lots of people. I watch, a friend of mine who's in the insurance world. She's not selling. She's not selling for herself. It's not her own sales, her own insurance brokerage, but she loves to teach people about insurance. So she's building that thought leadership, which means that some other insurance company could grab her. You want to be known. And these days, we all have the tools to reach out, whether that's a blog, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's posting on Fairygodboss, of course. There are places you can share your expertise, your opinions, your insights, things that you are learning. That's a crucial thing to do. So please rank yourself on this. And then you're going to be able to add up your scores. So let's check out. Are you at stop, caution, or go? So add your score up. You should be somewhere between, I'll share with you how to make sense of your score, what that assessment means, and what action to take. So if your score is between 10, which is the lowest, that would be 1 point on each of these, to 28, oh, you're in the danger zone. Sorry, but I'd rather be honest with you. I'd rather you know that now. And so your action is to broaden your options immediately. Don't wait. Like, take action today. If your score is from 29 to 39, yeah, please let us know what your score is. That will help us. If you're 29 to 39, you're in the caution zone. So focus on making some necessary shifts now, which I'll talk about. And if you're at 40 to 50, that's wonderful. Congratulations. You're in the safe zone for now, but remember that that could change. So be wise and explore new options regularly. So go ahead and let me know. And I'm going to be super curious from Samantha to know what comes back when we've got enough people who've answered this. What are you noticing about your own score? Where are people today?
Hey, Susan, while people are still answering, somebody made a really interesting comment in the chat, and we can save this for a discussion at the end because I think it's great. But somebody said, everyone is replaceable. And all I think about is that Dance Moms quote of the Abby Lee person screaming at the poor girls that everyone is replaceable. But I guess, what are your thoughts on that? And how, I guess the question with that is, how can you make yourself irreplaceable?
What a great question. So first of all, keeping your skills top notch will help keep you irreplaceable. So if you're maybe irreplaceable now, but if you're not constantly learning, then somebody's going to leapfrog you. And the thing that works at work is your likability. You know, somebody else may have the same skill set as you, but if they don't fit culturally, if they don't know how to influence and get things done and find themselves being valuable for their skills, but also visible, and visible in a way that's likable in your company. You know, like in some companies, it's super important that you go to social mixers. And I know companies are having happy hours on Zoom these days because we can't physically congregate in most roles. But you want to have that rapport with people. So that's what prevents somebody from just being replaced. People don't tend to replace somebody in a role if, one, they're constantly learning new things that are valuable to the business, and that they're keeping good rapport with people. And that, you know, look, we all make mistakes at work. We say something we didn't mean to, things like that. It's how you do repair in those situations. So if you're somebody who's like, oh, I goofed, and saying to somebody, hey, I'm so sorry. I meant to get you that report when you needed it. I'm sure that had an impact on you. I will do my best not to let that happen again. The person who says that versus the person who's like, yeah, well, I had so much going on, you know, I'm just so busy. How can you expect so much from me, right? Who are you going to decide that you want to keep, and who are you going to replace? So please, you know, bear in mind that companies don't generally look around like, how can we replace? How can we replace? How can we replace? If you're seeing that going on in your organization, you are probably in a toxic workplace. And that's a good, you know, assessment that it's dangerous and time to get out. So I hope that's helpful. Let's see. Okay, so there's a good reason that people are here. Only 22% of you are in the safe zone. So 39% in the danger zone and 39% in the caution zone. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some strategies that you can use, and you're going to want to probably ask me some specifics for your industry. And I'm going to keep this general. I wish I could, you know, I could whisper in everybody's ear personally and give you something that you can do. But I think you'll find these suggestions broad enough that you can use. So let's take a look. So let's explore what you can do now to increase your chances of keeping your job. And I want you to think about it this way. Look, everyone is replaceable, and also your role is movable, meaning this cannot be the only place in town where you can do your role. There are other ways that you can take your talents and use them. So I was actually at the very beginning, I'm going to be totally transparent here, at the very beginning of California going on shelter in place, I was negotiating with a big client, super excited, and they made a decision that they couldn't work with me. They're like, our financial situation isn't great. And I lost a big contract, or I lost out on a big contract. And I had a moment of, well, maybe I should just go get a job. And I was like, what job could I do? And I actually called my best friend and I'm like, if I wasn't doing this, what would I do? And we brainstormed a whole list of things, including being a professor somewhere, designing training for companies, taking a role as a chief learning officer. So there are things, so I want you to also think it's super crucial that you say to yourself, if I wasn't doing this role at this company, where else would I be? So I picked this image specifically because if you look on this viewfinder, it says turn to clear vision. Like turn your perspective to have a clearer vision of your own work. So, if you're feeling like really, really pressured, your job is to open your vision, to see bigger and not just see your role at this company. So I am going to be talking predominantly about staying at your own company, but think big. Think what else could you do? So let's look at two key levers to keep you in your career. One is boosting your value and your visibility, which I've been talking about. And two is to strengthen your relationships. So let's go into that. Boosting your value and your visibility. You become more valuable when you work on projects and initiatives that help your organization to do any of these 6 key business drivers. Increase profitability. So increasing profitability is either where you're helping to bring in more revenue, right? Profitability is revenue, like the money in, minus costs, the money out, the expenses. So if you help bring in more money, like you're a salesperson who's amazing at what you do and you bring in lots of money, that's an example of increasing profitability. Or if you help decrease cost, you're like, I can make this better, let's do this less expensively, then you're helping to increase profitability. So I want you to think that way, because profit is the lifeblood of business. And so if you're connected to that profitability, you're going to be seen as more valuable, especially by senior management. Are you boosting productivity? Are you making things faster, easier, done more readily? So I worked recently with somebody who works in data analysis, and it used to take them 3 weeks to do this analysis because it had to get gathered from all over the world and put through all this software. Well, she streamlined that from a 3-week process to a 3-day process. You have to believe that that's saving a ton of money, and all of the rest of these 5 that I'm going to share are related to productivity. So what are you doing that helps to boost productivity and to make things more efficient? That's super valuable. Do you speed up time to market? Do you help get your products or services to market faster? Especially if your company is innovating, designing new things. Are you able to take the new products or the new offers and get them out to the market faster than average? Are you enhancing customer satisfaction, and especially of your key customers? What are you doing to help make customers want to stay with you longer so that that helps increase your profitability? So maybe you're talking to customers regularly and you're taking those ideas and you're packaging them into some kind of a report or analysis, and you're saying, we could boost productivity, or excuse me, we could boost profitability by doing these things that we hear over and over and over again from our customers. We'd make them more satisfied, right? So if you're related to that, make sure that you're tying that customer satisfaction and all of these things back to, hey, this drives profitability. And if you can in your company, keep track of how much you're doing that. Are you fueling innovation? Are we doing things in new ways? And companies that are able to be nimble and innovate more are going to last the distance, as are individuals. So if you're helping your company to think in new ways that bring you new customers, or that help you bring out new meaningful products or services, or help you figure out that, wow, we can get rid of all of these costs if we do this new innovative way, then you're valuable. And finally, for those of you in nonprofits or municipal type of organizations, you can also be valuable if you raise the impact on stakeholders. So stakeholders are the people not just who receive your product or service, but who benefit widely. And right now, if we think about, if somebody works in, let's say, community healthcare, and they help boost the health of and safety of doctors, those doctors go into the community, they're taking, the other stakeholders are their families who don't get sick, their patients who don't get sick. So those are stakeholders. So if you're in a nonprofit, are you helping boost the impact to more and more stakeholders? That will help you to be valuable. And you communicating in this kind of language, like, hey, this initiative is really helping with profitability. Or if you don't know, asking your manager, hey, this thing I'm working on, how does this impact any of these drivers? Even your curiosity about that will help you to think more strategically and get you into projects that are more related to these things, as opposed to more tactical things that are less on purpose, that don't fulfill on one of these. So my question for you to ponder, you don't have to know the answer right now, is how can you move into projects that relate to one or more of these 6 key business drivers? That's something for you to think on strategically. Second, how can you raise your visibility? You want to get on the radar screens of influencers, the people who need your talents the most. So who does it make sense for you to influence inside your company, inside your industry, and in areas where your talents are going to make a difference? Where can you, if you close your eyes and just imagine, where would my talents make the biggest impact? Who are the people attached to that vision? And those are the people whose radar screens you need to be on. You need to be getting meetings with them. You need to be sending them emails, showing them your thinking, what you're creating. Those are the people who need to know. And yes, you need to toot your own horn. And I know that there's lots of resources on Fairygodboss to help you build your influence and toot your own horn. So absolutely take advantage of that. Go use the platform for that. So my wonder question for you to wonder about is, in which of these 3 areas are you most in need of making an impact right now? If you're doing great in your company, what are you doing in your industry? Or where are other areas where your talents will make a big difference? So again, thinking broadly, opening up your vision of where you can be of value. And then what kinds of actions can increase your visibility? So I just want to think about, one location is in your company, so some potential things you can do. Talk to your manager about getting on a more visible and valuable project. Just ask. Affiliate with other high visibility people. Hang out with them, including these days, because we're working virtually. Ask to hang out. Ask to have, a virtual coffee with somebody and ask what they're working on, and have an informal chat. Get to know them. Get to know what they're working on. Initiate a project that will boost your profitability or your productivity of your company. Is there something that you can see, an opening where you could add value? Share about that. Inside your industry and in a new area. So let's talk about these 2 as well. In your industry is to connect with industry thought leaders and innovators and discuss ideas. LinkedIn is fabulous for going through and finding these people. You can look by industry. You can also do a hashtag search. So like you'll find my thought leadership a lot under leadership and resilience. I'm trending a lot in those areas. So that's where I'm recognized as a thought leader. But if you want to find thought leaders, you can use a hashtag in the search bar in LinkedIn and go find who's posting about these kinds of issues. Twitter can be a good place, although Twitter's gotten incredibly political these days. It's a little harder to find that, but again, you can use business-oriented websites to find who are the thought leaders and innovators and get together with them. Make time, send an email and say, I'm super interested in what you're doing. I'd love to have a conversation, and take what you learn from them and see how to innovate that into your own company. Find the most appealing companies. Like if you were opening that mindset for yourself, especially those of you who are in the danger zone, who are the appealing companies that you would love to work at? Go build connections there. And LinkedIn makes that super easy to go do a search by company. And if you need to do, level down and do that by geography as well, you can do that. Go find people. This is a time that people are much more open than ever before to connecting, because they know, all of us know that we're in this together and we depend on each other for resources, for ideas. So this is not a good time to be shy. It's a good time to reach out. Kind of like being a new college grad, like I want to do an informational interview with you. You can actually ask to do that these times. And make sure that you're exploring roles in other companies and that are in your industry or in your function. So right now I'm working with somebody who's in data analysis. And she's been doing that in healthcare, but she realizes that there's a lot of other industries where her expertise is valuable. So we're working on a job search for her that goes outside of just her industry, which has been healthcare, to more of her function, which is data analysis. And she's actually talking to companies and sharing how she can bring innovations from healthcare into these other industries. And share your ideas about innovations, profit maximizers, or productivity boosters with people in the industry. You know, there are still, while there are probably not a lot of physical conferences, I don't know what states are open up. We're not open here in California for this yet. But while they're not physical conferences for gathering, there are lots of online gatherings. I just spoke for one in the agile marketing world. So yeah, there are still gatherings like that. Make sure that you get on that radar screen. And if there's something that you have to say, some thought leadership, some ideas that you have together, that's a great place to offer to share those, or go listen to a bunch of those, get ideas and ask to speak to the speakers. If you're looking at a whole new area, it's really good. Some of you, this is a great time to do reinvention. That's what I did. Look, when I had that crazy 5-week period where it felt like my life fell apart and I really was in a lot of uncertainty, that's when I found, I was like, my heart said I'd always wanted to study psychology and I didn't want to wait until I was a 70-year-old woman to do that. So I went back to school for psychology. And while I was doing that, I went back to Berkeley, back into the business school, and started working in the Career Center for the MBA and learned that I loved coaching. So this could be a really good discovery time for you. I just want to say that. And I also want to, another thing is to recommend ways to transfer your ideas or practices across industries or functions, as I shared that my client is doing in her data analysis, not just keeping it to healthcare. How could the things that you've been seeing be useful cross-industry or cross-function? It's also important for you to strengthen your relationships both inside and outside your organization. So if your relationship inside your organization with your management is strained, super important to have a conversation to clarify expectations. I do a lot of this with people. That might be something you're interested in. If you want to fix a relationship, I do a lot of that. I normally would teach a workshop called the conflict shift, which I did in person, but I've been doing one-on-one sessions and group sessions with people to help when there's been conflict. And part of that is clarifying the expectations of your role. Get gutsy and ask how you can make improvements. So it's crucial right now that you have good relationships. So if those things are not good, this is a really important time to ask and look for ways to make improvements. And take action to repair your relationships, like keeping your word or proactively letting people know when things are getting off track. This is more important than ever, that we think not just about ourselves, and I know it's hard to do that right now, but to also think about others in our ecosystem and how what's going on with us impacts them. And if we can share that with them, we're more likely to keep good relationships. And this principle I always teach in my conflict workshops: seek to understand more than to be understood. We always want to justify, well, he did it because, and this happened because, and this is going on, and you don't. Instead say, oh, I'm curious how this impacts you. What's the experience like for you? Ask, be curious, bring that sense of wonder. I wonder what's going on for you, to other people in relationships. So my wonder question for you here is, what action can you take this week to improve a working relationship? So not that you have to have the answer right this second, but it's something that I would invite you to wonder on. And if you lack meaningful business relationships outside your organization, and this is a crucial time more than ever to have those, make sure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized. There are great people that you can work with. I help people with this, but make sure that recruiters and hiring managers see your value. You want them to know that you're a wonderful commodity. So, that you're not a commodity. I said that really wrong, excuse me. You want them to know that you're a hot commodity, that, that you're not just a commodity, that you're, interchangeable or replaceable. So your LinkedIn profile, you want to have a sense of verve and personality and not just all the right keywords. People want a feel for who you are. So that can be in the photo that you put in, especially the header photo, the words that you use. And of course, if you're putting out your own original articles and posts on LinkedIn, that also helps you to get recognized there. Find interesting people on LinkedIn, connect and ask for conversations, and then nurture those relationships. Don't just put people into your network, ask to talk to them. I do this all the time. I'll ask people, I'll say, I saw you post this super interesting thing. I'm interested in that too. Could we have a 15-minute conversation? And then that doesn't just create numbers in my LinkedIn, that creates a network of real people who I can go back to, and I let them know that I also want to be of help to them. And then share your knowledge on social media where ideal hiring managers congregate. Fairygodboss is also a place where you can be sharing your knowledge. I see people do that. I see them post witty things. I see them post insightful things. So, and especially if a hiring manager is going to see that, and you never know who's on Fairygodboss. That's the cool thing. It's such a warm, supportive community. It's what I love. You may find me do this. I love to just go read and see somebody who's having an issue that I know something about and just sending them back a message. I did something like this yesterday. So I'm constantly using the platform that way. And hey, a couple months down the line, I'm going to need a virtual assistant. I'm looking for a new one. So, that could be, Fairygodboss could be the place where I find that. But I wouldn't find that without making the connection. So you want to be active on social media and look for where your ideal hiring managers are congregating. And then again, write articles or make videos or comment on the posts of people you admire. And that also helps you to build your recognition and rapport. I will look at somebody's LinkedIn profile, and if I don't see activity, like they're commenting or getting involved, I'm like, yeah, they're not really using this platform. It's not somebody I am as inclined to be engaged with. Okay, so I've given you all the super, businessy things to do, but there's also the insides. And I want to help you reduce your worries and fears and turn them into positive action. And I also want to make sure I leave plenty of time to answer your questions. So I'll do my best to do that with you all. So my question for you is, how well are you minding your mindset? What are you saying to yourself about the current economic situation, and how are you handling stress? So I want to suggest that it's really important that you notice, if you're nervous, what you've been saying to yourself about the economy and your job. And you'll see here a woman with a very sweet quill pen. I'd love to know where she got that, because I love to journal. But the reason that's there, the reason I picked this image, is somebody writing. I believe it's super important for you to write down, get your thoughts down on paper. That alone helps get them out of your head onto the paper. You've moved them. It's a way to move the emotional energy in you and to do something productive with it. So, and you want to also then turn the negative ideas around. So it looks something like this. There's a thought and a turnaround. So let's say you write down, I'm terrified to lose my job. Better to get that on paper and just see it. And then the turnaround to that might be, you know what? I'm making a plan to secure my role or a similar one. Or if it's like, I might get laid off, which is true. That could happen. That's a thought. But how do you boost that thought for yourself? I choose to have the courage to start looking for new options. Might be. Now, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong to any of your thoughts or the turnaround, but the turnaround is, we have the thought, and then it's actually balancing that thought so that we don't get stuck in just the negative gear. And it's a form of self-awareness and a chance for you to take charge of your thoughts so that you're not at the mercy of them. And when you get anxious, so I'm trained in mind-body psychology, and I'm a big believer in using the body as a resource. So one of the most important things you can do to calm down is to slow your breathing way down. And what we actually know from research is that if you make your exhale longer than your inhale, It sends a signal to your brain through the nervous system to calm you. You know this, right? If you're super anxious and you're like hyperventilating, or, you know, I've had panic attacks in my life and it's really hard, like gasping and hard to get breath. If you can slow your breathing way down. So I deliberately do breathing exercises every morning. It's part of my morning meditation practice. But if you'll slow your breath way down, so one thing that you can try is 4-4-6 breathing. What does that mean? You breathe in for a slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And actually hold for 2 before you start that again. I don't want to take up everybody's time because I want to get to questions, but try that for yourself, a few rounds of that 4-4-6, and then pause 2, and then repeat, and see if that doesn't calm your brain down. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, and I find that if I can just remember to breathe and breathe consciously, it slows down my nervous system. Another simple trick is to look up. When you're depressed or when you're anxious, we tend to look down, right? We hang our head, oh, this is so heavy. So a simple thing you can do is raise your eyes so they're, you know, your head is even, and then just look up. And do that for 30 seconds. It starts changing things in your mind. Our brain is programmed to see up as positive and down as negative in this culture. So it's a way that you can shift what's going on in your attention and bring your energy up and your optimism up. And then the third one is to smile. Now, that might sound like ridiculous. Like, what? I'm going to smile? Everything feels crazy. But if you smile, you use these zygomaticus muscles, fancy name. But seriously, if you do that for 30 seconds, a real smile, not a Cheshire cat grin, like on your teeth, but a simple smile, one that crinkles the little things over here in your eyes and gives you personality. If you do that for 30 seconds, you stay calmer. I used to do that in workout classes. My teachers would be like, God, you smile a lot. I'm like, I'm in pain, but I'm okay. I'm going through the pain, but I'm okay. It does. It releases positive endorphins into the body so that you can stay happy and upbeat. Another is to make a list of what's working in your life right now and read it aloud repeatedly. This, I'm a big believer in writing things down, but seeing that list helps you to stay calmer, remember what is working, because our brains can otherwise focus on what isn't. So a big invitation to you now, if you've got a paper and pen, write down some things in your life that are working to remind yourself that. Like, are you in good health? Do you have a supportive family? You have a roof over your head? You ate food today? Simple things of what's working in your life right now. And read it out loud. Hear it in your own voice. And then, of course, ask for help and support. And that's why you're here today, to get help and support. I'm here for you. I'll share an offer with you while I take some questions. So what I'm going to do in a moment is to take your questions. I want you to know that you can get a special discounted Manage Your Anxieties and Take Control of Your Career session with me. It's only good through June 12th of 2020. You can get that at bit.ly, /Dr. Susan FGB for Fairygodboss. So it's case sensitive, but it's a way you can get a session with me at a very discounted. I'm not charging you what I charge my senior execs, but it's only available through June 12th. If you want some one-on-one time with me, you'll find there's some questions that it asks you to answer and make payment online. And then you can connect with me on LinkedIn for daily confidence boosting posts at linkedin.com/in/Dr. Susan Bernstein, or just look me up at Dr. Susan Bernstein. So it's been my pleasure. I want to take the last bits of time to take your questions. So Samantha, I'm super curious. I'm going to take some notes. I've got pen and paper ready. I want to hear those questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Susan. And everybody, you can leave your questions using the Q&A feature. You'll find it at the bottom of your screen. A reminder that you can leave a question as yourself or anonymously, so feel free to ask anything. But I know that we already had a few come in while you were speaking, so let's start off with those. We had one person write in, they said, hello, I don't have a job right now because I was recently laid off. I have a lot of anxiety right now about trying to find a new job and managing my career and just trying to decide what to do next. Do you have any advice for people who maybe don't even have a job and are trying to manage that sort of anxiety?
Yeah. So one of the first things I would say is do write down that list of what's working for you. That can be very calming, or pick another calming technique like breathing. We know from research that we open up more options when we're calm. Like, think about it, when you're constricted and tight, it's way harder to think new ideas or think innovatively. And when you're like, I'm loose and open. So do some yoga, go for a walk, whatever loosens you up, start with that. Then I would suggest you make a list of all the ideas you have of what you could do next. Just dump the list down. Just get it on paper. Don't worry. Don't try to organize it. Just get ideas down. If you're totally out of ideas, it's a good idea to get in touch with friends or family members and generate those ideas. Then set that aside for an hour or a day, and then come back to that list and look at it and start to sort and sift. Where do you have the most energy and attention for? What could you do next? Take that step. Look, none of us has a crystal ball and knows exactly what's going to happen. But if we start taking inspired actions, those things that feel good to us, we put one foot in front of the other. Like, that's what I did. I didn't know. If you would have told me before my crazy period in 2001 that I would be, getting a PhD in mind body psychology, I'd be like, who is that? That's not me. I'm busy, working in this super high stress startup. No way. But it was by taking one step, one thing after another. Like, I was at a friend's house and I saw this book called Molecules of Emotions on his coffee table. And I was like, oh my God, that's so interesting. Can I read it? That's where I read about mind-body psychology. I'd never heard of it before. And I was so fascinated, like, oh, I got to go read about this. And then I went to a program to go hear about it. And then I was like, I want to enroll in this school. How am I going to fund school? Let me go explore that. So it's bringing back that sense of wonder and curiosity to this, as opposed to, I have to do this. See if you can bring a sense of fun and play to this. And if you need friends to help you with that, or you need to turn on good music to do that. But I encourage you to get to a relaxed place, dump down some ideas, and pick the one that's most inspiring and interesting to you, and use that to springboard you forward.
That's great advice. Yeah. And that actually answered another question, I think, coming in from an anonymous attendee. Very similar question of, like, the list of things that I should be doing just is adding to my stress and it's paralyzing me right now. So they wanted advice on how to make it more manageable. And I think you answered that question for them.
Yeah. Start with what inspires you. Don't push. It's not about, it's being that's the should path. I should do this versus the want to path.
Yeah.
Start with what you want to do and trust that that will work.
I noticed a few people are writing in the chat. If you wouldn't mind just leaving your questions in the Q&A, it's much easier for us to manage there. But I see another question coming in, actually from two different people, but they're asking if you have any recommendations on, like, executive coaches, career coaches, or like resume consultants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have any there.
So I help people with executive coaching. I don't do as much resumes and things like that. Something that you all should know if you're on LinkedIn is that LinkedIn has something called ProFinder. And what you can do is put in that you have a desire for somebody like that. Go to LinkedIn, look up ProFinder, and you can put in that you're looking for somebody like that, and it will give you back 5 people who fit that profile will get back to you, and then you can interview those people. So that's something I did. Like, I did that recently, late last year, to find a videographer locally. I was new to San Diego. I don't know who he used. So LinkedIn is great as a way to find that. So I would use ProFinder to do that.
That's great advice. And also, Fairygodboss is running something until, I think, Monday. We're doing free resume reviews with some of the experts on our team. I'll include a link later. It's a referral campaign, so you just have to refer a friend to Fairygodboss and you'll qualify to get a free resume review. So definitely would just personally plugging that. I think you should take us up on that.
Awesome.
Let's see. Oh, and Robin left a comment here. Each state should have a federal program as well. She's from Michigan. She said Michigan Works is the name of the program, and they help with resumes and job searches as well.
Awesome. I would also say this just gives me the idea. If you're alumni at a college or university, often those places have free or very discounted career coaching.
Yeah, that's great advice. We have a question about resumes here. Ruth asked, should you keep tailoring all of your resumes when you're applying for different jobs?
Yes, 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 yes. So
Yes.
a resume is not just a historical document. It's not just, here's what I used to do. A resume is a positioning document. It's a marketing document. And the easiest thing I know to do is to go look at the job and really understand the job you're looking for and make sure that every line, everything you have in your resume connects and says, oh, I'm great. This bullet point shows you why I'm great for this job. This bullet point, that you don't want the person reviewing your resume to get to one and be like, what does that have to do with this job? So don't just, I know it takes more work, but the way to tailor is to think from the position. Imagine you had this job and you were celebrating a year from now how happy you are to have that job. What is it that needs to be on your resume now that demonstrates why you could have that celebration?
Cool. And then this is an interesting question here. It says, I'm in the hospitality industry, which was obviously really impacted by the pandemic, but they're an optimist. They said, it's a great opportunity to shift my career, focus on something that I really feel passionate about. Yeah. I updated my resume, LinkedIn profile, and I've identified industries that I want to now pursue. Whether I reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn or speak to professionals in my desired industry, what exercises can I undertake to help identify how my current skill set and experience can be transferable to their industry?
Oh, I love this question so much, and kudos to whoever, I guess it's anonymous, but kudos to you for asking and for having this optimistic attitude. A couple of things that I would suggest. First, if you're reaching out to people, I would reach out to people in that industry, not who are hiring managers, others, more junior, and say, hey, help me understand what's needed in this role. And help me, like, if once you start getting that sense, then you can start to see, hey, wait, I did this thing that's like that. So what do you have that's the closest to what you need to be doing? So, you know, if you were in hospitality and let's say you wanted to use that in healthcare and administration, right? If you've been, you know, greeting people at a desk, that's transferable, right? But so look for, you don't have to figure this out all by yourself. I think that's the key thing I want to say is talk to people who are in that function, not the recruiters, because you don't want to use up their time and you want to be prepared. Pick somebody, you know, a little bit more junior and ask them to have a conversation. Say, look, I'm in a job search. I really could use your help. You have look on LinkedIn, like you have a really interesting profile. Would you help me? Would you take, you know, could I send you my resume and have a conversation? I want to understand what somebody in this role does. And then I want to have a conversation about how to translate so that it's understandable.
Yeah. And I just throw in there, use the lingo of the industry you're trying to move into. So if you are trying to move into healthcare administration and all of the job listings have the same kind of words, like we take patient care or something like that, maybe try and work those words somewhere into your resume so you can clearly show, I know I can do this. That looks like we're just about at time. So thank you again, Susan, so much. What a great presentation.
My pleasure. Well, I wish you all well. Feel free to be in touch on LinkedIn. And I know some of you may want to get sessions with me. And I'm happy to be of service to you, especially LinkedIn is a great place to get my messages. And thank you so much all for being here. I wish everybody well.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your week and we'll catch you at the next one. Bye.